A season of isolation is a time set apart from life as you knew it, where God is doing something new and different within you. Before we get too far into this video, let's nuance a few things about this isolation season. First, the purpose of isolation is not to remain isolated. And second, while you may feel lonely, you're not alone. It's also easy to feel like this is a time of punishment rather than preparation. And to help redirect your heart and mind, perhaps some other words to associate with this season of isolation are the following: stillness, quiet, solitude, shaping, reflecting. I think these words provide a more helpful context for the purpose of when we enter into these seasons of isolation. Don't forget people like Moses, David, the Apostle Paul, and even Jesus himself all had times where they were alone and isolated. What if, like them, while we are isolated, God is desiring to do something new and different within us and through our life? And when you are in a season of isolation, there are a few things that you need to be aware of so that you can get all that you can out of this time. In Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, it says that there is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. Yes, this even means a time for isolation. And there are several things that are indicators that you are entering or already in a season of isolation. Perhaps you feel unsettled or you're already feeling alone. Maybe you're wondering if this time is ever going to end. There's a deep work going on within you. Perhaps you're processing pain or hurt, or you have a vision for the future that is not yet realized. And in this season, you may find that you're struggling to trust God and you're asking questions that are like, God, if this doesn't happen, what else is there? Or, God, I believe I heard your promise, but I'm not seeing the results. And don't be surprised by these two things. In this season, more than likely, you'll be misunderstood by those around you. And you're hearing God more than you realize. Hey, if this is resonating so far, type in the comments season of isolation. In an isolation season, you are being separated from the familiar to create space for God to do new work within you. And more than likely, it's for the purpose of renewal in one or several of the following ways. And the first is healing. There could be areas of your life, hurt that you've experienced, loss, grief, whatever it may be. All of these things, though, require a time of healing and mending. Maybe it's for the purpose of rethinking, renewing your mindset. Perhaps there's ways that you have approached life and thought about life, or thought about a situation, or thought about your future that need to be renewed. And God wants to help you think about these things in a new, fresh, and different way. Maybe this is a time of retooling. Maybe there are new skill sets or gifts that already reside within you that God wants to help bring to the surface so that you are better and more equipped as you move into the future. Maybe even this is a time of reprioritizing. Maybe there's things in your life that you need to let go of so that you're focused on what truly matters, so that you're investing your time in the things that truly are meaningful and attached to your calling, attached to your purpose, attached to the people in your life that matter most. Take a minute and consider, what is this season of isolation about for you? Because this time in your life is also a bit of a season of transition. Essentially, you are in between life as you knew it and something different. And very quickly, I want to explain what a transition looks like and how to navigate your way through it. Because you are moving from one place to another, and I think this path or this transition is best understood or explained in a 2x2. In one very real sense, you are moving from what has been familiar, or in other words, the past, to something different, which is the future. But there is another dynamic happening during this time where you are asking questions in hopes of gaining clarity. And as you're moving from the familiarity of your past experiences to the uncertainty of a new normal, there are some questions that you are more than likely asking or that you could start asking that will be extremely helpful to you. Doing so with intentionality and openness can help illuminate the path forward. In the first phase of moving through this transition, I just simply call why. Everyone enters this transition or isolation asking the question, why? These questions of why may be like, why am I here? How did I get here? God, who do you want me to become? What do I need to heal from? How do I heal from this? What are the truths that can help reposition my heart and mind? In fact, I encourage you to try this if you're comfortable. In one sentence, write in the comments why you think you are in this season of isolation. Before we move on, if you're wrestling with questions like, what is God doing in my life? How do I discern my unique gifting and calling? Or I want to be a better leader, but I'm unsure what to do next. How do I navigate this season that I'm in? I invite you to join me inside of a community where you can ask these kinds of questions and receive support and coaching. To learn more about this, write the word community in the comments so that I can be sure to get you the right information. But back to phase one of navigating this transition, once you start addressing and asking and processing the reasons and answers to the questions that you've been asking, you begin to position yourself to be in a place of acceptance. As you process and as you accept some of these things that have happened, you then enter into phase two, which I call peace. As you're asking questions and processing things related to the past, you begin to make peace with where you are. And even though things may still be a little unclear, you're okay. And something that is going to occur that you may not have seen coming is you're going to begin to become more comfortable with abandoning the identities that you have held onto or that have defined your life up to this point. And in time, in this place of peace, you begin to recollect the skills, the gifts, the talents, and the contributions that you have to offer and to bring to the table. You're beginning to make some decisions about the things that are meaningful to you, the values that are important, the type of person that you want to be. And eventually, you start to ask the question, well, what if? And this question begins to move you into the third phase, which I do call what if. And as you're moving into this phase, you begin to see a way out. Even though it's still foggy, it's not hopeless. Ideas are surfacing, you're pinpointing, you begin to get a vision that seems to make sense for the future. You may even start testing ideas and trying things out. Essentially, you're exploring. You're in this place of peace and you're asking what if, you're considering possibilities, you're trying things out, and you're becoming more open to what the future could look like, even though it's different from the past. And in this phase, you're doing a bit of oscillating because as soon as you begin to feel certain about one thing, then you start to wrestle with it a bit and you're like, I'm not sure that's it. And you become uncertain and you oscillate back and forth in this exploration time. You're still asking questions, and one to consider is, God, how are you using this season to sharpen, refocus, or even redirect my life? This leg of the journey is about getting a vision for how this season of isolation is just as much for others and about others as it is for you. As you're getting a vision for that, here are some additional questions that can further help you make sense of this season of isolation. What might the next chapter look like based on what God is doing within you? As you think about what the future could look like, what do you hear yourself saying? If you could describe in one sentence what you want to do, what is it? As you're asking these questions, things begin to become more clear and you're able to make sense of the purpose of this season. As this purpose begins to become more clear, you're able to take that into your present to help shape your future so that it is a place of flourishing, which is phase four, a time for flourishing. As you're exploring and evaluating, the purpose of this transition begins to become more clear. You begin to see how and why this season is valuable. And in this time, you begin to make decisions that are faith decisions that propel you forward. These faith decisions, shaped and formed through the process of this season, help guide you into a place of flourishing. So perhaps the big question is, will you allow God to use this season of isolation? In Psalms 139, verse 15 through 16, it says, "My frame was not hidden from you when I was made in the secret place, when I was woven together in the depths of the earth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be." God knew you would be here, and He's not surprised. And one more time, let me tell you, you're not alone. New work always starts with an interruption. What disruption has occurred in your life that, while challenging, could be the start of something new, different, and better? Hey, let me know what you think about this in the comments. And for some more help, watch this next video too.